Good afternoon. Welcome to Family Health Matters. I'm your host, Wendy Bridgers. We are here on Awesome Radio 107.5 FM and 1570 AM. We also have a Facebook page, Awesome Radio Facebook page. So if you want to find out what we're talking about and go back and check on us, you can always go to Facebook, to the Awesome Radio Facebook page and look at Family Health Matters or look and search for Wendy Bridgers, and you can see some of the topics we have discussed in the past. So welcome again, and we are here every Thursday from 3 to 3:30. 3:30 p.m. here in Awesome Radio. So we're so excited today to have with us in the studio Robynique Willis-Brown. Welcome to Awesome Radio.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're
It's a
welcome.
pleasure to be here.
I'm so glad you could join us on today. And Robynique is has a master's in social work, and she is a licensed clinical social worker. Correct?
Yes.
So she has a wealth of knowledge. So this October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but this topic, breast cancer, is something that I think we need to keep at our forefront every day, not just in October. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about the challenging journey, breast cancer. So before we jump into that, Robynique, I'm going to give you a chance just to share a little bit about yourself and why your specialty is cancer, not just breast cancer, but cancer.
Yes. So as you have already shared, I am a master's prepared social worker. I have been working in the oncology population for about 5 years now. And I just knew that this was the place that I was destined to be. I was a intern at the old cancer center. So when I came back here for the interview, it was just like coming back home. I've been able to cultivate so many skills in this role, primarily focusing on the supportive measures for those that are undergoing any form of treatment. And so my focus is to be that person that could listen to the patients and hear about their journey and support them from an emotional, psychological, and social perspective. So I've been enjoying my role here and I love what I do, and my patients just make it more enjoyable.
Awesome. That is very good. It's easy to do a job when you love it. And
Yes.
sometimes I'm sure it can be real touching when you see people going through and sharing their journey with them. I can
Yes.
imagine. And with you just, in that role that you have to have a good mental health support group as well, not
Yeah.
just, for your patients or your families, but you as well. So we appreciate what you do.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and jump in now and talk about emotional health and the power of perspective and self-love. And I know that with breast cancer or any type of cancer, we know physically it has what I want to say. It has effects on the body physically,
Right.
but we're going to look at a little bit about the emotional health. So, Romney, tell us a little bit about how that works and how we can support people and how does that look, emotional health.
Okay. So oftentimes, as you shared, we think of what cancer can do to the physical body. Um, as a professional, I like to sit with patients and understand emotionally where they're at. How are you feeling today? How are you processing things? How did your first treatment go? So things as far as supporting them from that perspective and empowering them and encouraging them from that stance, because it can be very taxing on the emotional side of things. I hear oftentimes, I'm not as beautiful as I once was. And I think that'll fall more into our self love thing, but more of, I don't want to be a burden or things of that nature. And so, and our just hearing statements like that, um, make me want to help people to see things differently, which goes into the power of perspective. But the emotional side, I think we have to acknowledge that we have those emotional feelings initially, and then talk about how we have handled them and how we could process those feelings throughout the journey.
Well, tell us now. You mentioned empowering. So, what does that look like? Empowering. You
Uh,
said that you try to help them feel empowered. So, what does that look like? And give us an example of how that works.
Okay. So depending on the situation, it varies. But I think that goes into more of our point, like shift of perspective. So during a time where things seem so dark, we try to enlighten them with other thoughts, like, well, you're still here today. That's a blessing within itself. And value the small things and find value in the smaller things. And so empowering them from whatever perspective they need hope and encouragement in. Um, from day to day, it could be a challenge to just continue to get up and continue to go through the journey. And so encouraging them from a perspective of, hey, look, you did it yesterday and you're doing it right now. And so be encouraging them in the moment and
Okay.
at the place that they're at. Not thinking about uh, the negatives of the situation or the hardship of the entirety of the situation, but just acknowledging and appreciating the small things.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Appreciating the small things. So, okay, now, and this may be down to go back to perspective as well. But what about? I know we're talking about emotional and that support piece of empowering them. Is that part of encouraging them to seek out support, or
Yes,
is that in? Go ahead.
well, that varies from person to person depending on how what their support systems are.
Hmm.
Some don't even have a support system, and so as the social worker, a lot of that responsibility falls on me. I do a lot of our one-on-one support, so I do spend a lot of time with patients and family members, just hearing their story, being the person to sit down and listen to what they have to say. A lot of the times when they come into a doctor's office or a facility, they hear, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to treat it. This is what you need to take. Um, and nobody really stops to hear the patient and hear their perspective and hear how they're feeling and acknowledge how they feel or encourage how they feel. So I think for a lot of people, I'm that person, and a lot of services that are out in our community provide that same support, along with programs like Susan G. Komen, Cancer Care. So I do make referrals out, and if need be, I will make referrals out to other therapists as well, so that they can get the support that they need.
Okay, so you have a lot of resources right there that's available to you. So if anybody is going through the journey and they part of their team is a social worker, they can look for that kind of support or request, that kind of support from that social worker. All
Yes.
right. Okay, good, good. So, okay, let's talk a little about the power of perspective.
So, as I shared previously, cancer can be a very hard journey, and that journey looks different for everyone. A lot of people have to stop work. A lot of people have to now move in with mom to take care of mom. It looks different each and every day. And so, one of my goals is to help patients see once again the beauty in each day. I try to encourage patients to journal. Um, that is an outlet that I have studied and have seen to be helpful throughout this journey. I do provide personal journals as well, for patients to start on that journey. And when they don't have someone to talk to or they feel like they just want to be alone, they'll have that journal as a outlet. And so shifting their coping mechanisms and how they deal with things and their perspective on dealing with the journey itself is something that I strive to do. And just like I said, just valuing each day, although the journey is hard, it is taxing, that we strive to help them see beauty in each day and each moment. I tell a lot of patients, and they tell me sometimes it's one day at a time, sometimes it's a minute at a time, sometimes it's 1 second at a time. Um, and to also praise themselves throughout the process. So I praise my patients when I see them finish chemotherapy or finish radiation therapy. I'm there with them while they ring the bell. I'm there while we're celebrating and being a part of that process. And so I try to encourage patients to see things from a different perspective and to value each day, each moment, each second as a positive.
Okay, that's great. That's great. And what do you recommend, or how do you help people who has gotten to the point that, yeah, you want me to see a positive, but it seems like everything is so negative now. What are some examples of what you can instruct them to do or work with them to do to motivate them to hang in there?
Okay. So a lot of times, I number one just listen,
Mm.
listening to that person, hearing them out completely, their whole thought, all of their feelings. A lot of the times, they just need a person to listen to them. They need someone to just share their feelings with. And honestly, that within itself could do a lot of help. But primarily from a research perspective, I do a lot of research on cognitive behavioral thinking. And Dr. Daniel Amen, he's the CEO of Amen Clinics, but he talks about avoiding those negative thoughts and how we can avoid those negative thoughts. So when those negative thoughts do come to mind, number one, we write those down. So
Okay.
we do get it out, and that goes along with the journaling process as well. So you have your journal, you write those thoughts down, you identify that thought as a negative thought, and then you see yourself true in the thought. So you'll counteract that thought. Today, like you may say, for example, I don't feel beautiful today, or I don't look beautiful today. And you'll write that thought down. You'll acknowledge that thought as a negative thought, but then maybe go back and be like, well, but my hair is growing back. And so you're okay with my beauty's coming back, or I'm on my way to who I used to be, or I'll never be who I used to be, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And so acknowledging those feelings and those thoughts are essential to getting over them. And that's one way we can have that thought exit our body.
Okay.
And then you'll ask yourself, how does the thought make you feel? And how would you feel if you didn't have that thought?
Okay. That's good. That's really good. So it's like you self-reflecting
Yes.
and answering yourself in a positive way instead of the negative way. And as you were talking, I had a friend who went through chemotherapy and radiation therapy, and her hair came out, and she was really worried, and got some different hats and everything. But when her hair started coming back, she was so excited because it was nicer than what she said. She said, "Wow, look at the benefit of what all of this did." So she was able to turn that around to a positive that she lost the hair, but what she gained was like, "Oh, this is so cool," and it was so pretty. And so I guess when you talk about changing your perspective and finding the positive, it can be like you said, in the little things, in the very little things. So that's great. And I like those examples that you shared about the self-reflection and how to turn things around. And we need to do that even on a regular day,
Yeah.
and not just when we're doing a journey, just trying to find the positive of what's going on and reflecting. Okay, I don't want to talk too much. So okay, the next one was self-love. So talk about self-love and caring for ourselves.
Um, and this is probably an area that I really spend a lot of time in, because as a young person who was coming up with self-confidence issues, I had to learn these skills for myself. And so exemplifying these skills and sharing these skills with others became something natural to me. And that just wraps up everything that we kind of talked about just overall loving yourself and finding ways to love yourself and new ways to love yourself. So that can change from day to day, even in the activities that we do. Um, I had a patient who struggled to find time to love on herself. And I was like, just take you some time, just sit on the front porch. She loved to watch birds. I I told her, how about this? Let's just take the afternoon to just sit on the porch and maybe just watch birds. And she hadn't done it in years. And so when she took the time to do that, she felt that joy. She felt the love that she had for birds reignite. She felt the love that she had for herself reignited because she did take the time to do something for herself. So whatever the activity is, whatever, if it's reading a good book, if it's reading the newspaper, if it's sitting back and taking some time to just do something that you love, take that time for you. Not only is it essential during our journey, but it's essential every day. As you said
Yeah.
before, every day is something that we should continuously implement in our day-to-day life, is to find time to practice kindness to yourself. Find time to give yourself affirmations throughout the day. Find times to bring yourself joy. I love to eat. So as long as I have something good to eat, I am happy.
Well, you did. That is good. That is good, especially when you can love to eat and it doesn't show. Well, that's great. That's good. Good. And I like you what you were talking about. Um, an example of doing things that mean something to you, and you're not always doing something that somebody else wants you to do.
Yes.
And I think sometimes we forget about things that make us happy. And maybe you can help a little bit with this. What about how do we share what makes us happy with our families? This is Family Health Matters. We got to pull the family in here. So
Yeah.
how do we share that?
Um,
How do patients or people that's on this journey pull the families in?
um, and that can be challenging in a lot of ways for someone who is on a cancer journey, because they may feel like their family has so much going on and they don't have time. But if you can find one person in your family that you can confide in, that you can sit down and talk with and really be yourself with, I think that that'll be the turning point in the entire family. Um,
Um,
because a family is a unit, so it does work as one. So once one person finds out, oh, mom really wishes that she could ride her bike again, um, and that one daughter hears that and tells the rest of the family, and next thing you know, your whole family's scheduling a bike ride for you just because your family loves you. And so a lot of times we hold back what we need, um, to save our families, and our families actually want to hear from us. So don't be afraid to talk with your family. Don't be afraid to share how you feel with your family, because they want to know just as much as you want to share it. So I think it's beneficial for the individual and the family to know what that person is thinking so that they can both benefit.
that's great. That is great because I think sometimes that we do keep things to ourselves because we don't know how people is going to respond or react. And they're just waiting for the opportunity. Because one, they don't want to infringe on your privacy. So if you don't tell them, they're like, well, maybe she don't want us to know. And
Right.
you're saying, I want to tell them, but I don't know how they're going to receive it.
Yeah.
So you just need to put it out there.
Yeah. If the individual and the family both stayed in those cases that you said, nobody would ever get anywhere.
Right, right, right. So
And
that go ahead. I'm sorry.
and so someone would have to step forward and share. And being the patient or the individual on this cancer journey, I think that it's only right for you to share how you feel, because they do want to know, no matter how much you think they don't.
Yeah. And that goes back, I think, to the whole thing that we talked about, emotional health, the power of perspective, and self-love when you pull the family in there, because emotional health, they're going to be the ones that can encourage you to find ways to be supportive in a communication or a sounding board. Sometimes, like you said earlier, all you need is just somebody just to bounce something off of with.
Right.
And then the power of perspective, you may be seeing things negative, but your family can turn around, or a friend can turn around and say, well, girl, you still look good.
Yeah.
In spite of what you're going through, you still look good. You're going to be my friend regardless. And you're thinking all these other thoughts. So the power of perspective, and then self-love. It's always good to have somebody tell you that they love you or give
Yeah.
you a way of support or encouragement. So now with that, those three things that we talked about, what is the one or two things that you have found that helps people through this journey the most, that keeps them going and keeps them pushing forward instead of wanting to throw their hands up and give up?
Um, Honesty,
Mm,
being honest, with those that love you, and you know who loves you, and those that care about you.
right.
Being honest with them about how you feel, what you're experiencing, if you're having a good day or if you're having a bad day, being honest about those feelings. Another thing I would definitely say, your circle, who you have around you is crucial during your cancer journey. Um, Not, of course, you want positive people that are cheering for you, that are rooting for you, but individuals that can also be honest with you about where they're at in their life and where they're able to assist or maybe support. I think that that's important. And then I would say, lastly, I was just finding a way to release. Um,
Oh,
so
okay.
throughout the journey, there will be a lot of times where you feel like you want to just give up. But to find a way to release those emotions, whether it's, like I said, through some activity, spiritually, whatever you resort to relax yourself, avoiding any illegal substances or anything like that. But 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 to relax yourself and find a way to release those feelings, whether it's talking to someone, whether it's just spending time alone, crying. It's okay to cry. This journey is going to bring about a lot of tears, so don't be afraid to cry. It's okay. And then just loving on yourself. Self love is an act of courage. So you're
Mm.
stronger when you love on you, and you're even stronger when you let others love on you.
Oh, that is so good. That is so good. That is so good. You are. I like that. And when you said circle, first, people think that you should have a big circle. You're more popular when you have, but that circle, it can be big at certain times. But when you're on a journey, you want those people, like you said, around you, that's in your circle, that's going to be supportive. And everybody's not going to be that way.
Right.
And it's not negative. Everybody just can't be that way.
Right.
And so you need to have your circle a little bit tighter. One, so you don't fall out of it. So you got enough people around you to keep you standing. So that's really good. And to release yourself and be okay with whatever way you decide to release yourself to get it. Because, I sometimes have found myself just screaming sometimes and that's a form of a release and I feel better, I'm
Yeah.
just like, oh, okay, that's much better. But I really do thank you. I like what you said about those last three things. And what was it? Do you remember what it was? I know they were revelation. We have to go back to Facebook and find them again. But that was really good because I want to use that again. I really do like that. I really do like that. So that's one thing good about being on Facebook. We can go back and look at it. But we are almost out of time. Now I know you gave us the last thoughts about what we can look at, but I just think that what you have said has been so really helpful, and to encourage people not only just breast cancer but any type of cancer or any journey that you find yourself on, that you need that emotional health looked at and your power perspective and your self-love. And I go back to what you said, that circle, we need to have that circle there. So any little last tidbit, one little last tidbit. You got a half a minute.
So you have cancer. Cancer doesn't have you. So this is your journey. This is what you make it to be. So I'm rooting for all my cancer survivors, those living with cancer. If you have any questions or needs of support, Susan G. Komen is a good outlet for resources and for support. So please don't hesitate to reach out or look into resources online, within your family, within your church, wherever you find those support systems. Please, please, please. People are out here that want to help you and that should help you. So we are here. We love you and keep on surviving.
Thank you so much, Robynique, for coming to be with us on Awesome Radio. Family Health Matters. 107.5 FM and 1570 AM. Awesome Radio. Family Health Matters every Thursday from 3 to 3:30. And I'm your host, Wendy Bridgers. Thank you again for joining us. Bye-bye, Facebook family. Bye-bye.